Hello third graders, and welcome to another English lesson. The lesson today is called Objection Sustained. My name is Irena and I will be your English teacher today. After this lesson you will be able to describe certain legal proceedings using an infographic. You will need your notebook or a piece of paper and something to write with. You're going to need a computer or tablet with internet access as well. From time to time, I will suggest that you pause the video and complete the task I mentioned. It is the best way to achieve the outcome. So let's start. Look at the following sentences and phrases. Where can you hear them? Call your next witness. Sustained. Rephrase the question. Will the defendant please rise? I have no further questions. Remember, you are under oath. The witness may be excused. State your full name for the record. Objection, Your Honor, leading. Objection overruled. Together with the title of this lesson, Objection Sustained, you have easily guessed that the topic today is inside a courtroom. We are going to talk about legal proceedings and certain vocabulary related to this. So, we have all seen enough films and TV shows to recognize the phrases. But do you recognize the scene itself? Do you think you can guess who is who and who is sitting where? If you follow the link, you will open an interactive photo and you will be able to see who is usually in the courtroom. Please pause the video and do it now. Of course, the people and their roles in the courtroom depend on the legal system of the country. However, some things are more or less universal. So, let's check who is who at the court of law. This link will take you to a pair matching game. Pause the video and match the words with their definitions or descriptions. You will need these words to understand the story we are going to read next, so please, let's do the task now. Pause the video and complete it. So, let's check who is who at the court of law. Let's start with the jury. Jury is a group of people chosen to listen to all the facts in a trial in a court of law and to decide whether a person is guilty or not. The next one is judge. Judge is a person who is in charge of the entire process, so it is a person at a court who decides how a person who is guilty of a crime should be punished. So let's check who is who at a court of law. Let's start with jury. Jury is a group of people chosen to listen to all the facts in a trial in a court and to decide if a person is guilty or not. Next one is judge. Judge is a person who is in charge of a trial in a court and decides how a person who is guilty of a crime should be punished. A witness. Witness is a person in a law court who says what they know about a legal case or a particular person. Then we have bailiff. Bailiff is a court official who is responsible for prisoners who are appearing in court. The next one are court reporters. Those are people working at the court, taking notes and writing transcripts. Plaintiff is a person who makes a legal complaint against someone else in court. Then we have a juror, who is a member of a jury, and the defendant. Defendant is a person who is accused of having done something illegal. And the last one is a lawyer, a person whose job is to give advice to people about the law and speak for them in court. I'm pretty certain you have had the same result. Congratulations! You are now going to read and listen to the story about an unusual trial. While listening to it and reading it at the same time, please make notes about the following questions. Who the plaintiff is, who the defendant is, what the charges against the defendant are, and what is the verdict. Listen to the story.
A bizarre story comes from Montgomery, Alabama. A story about an ongoing trial which, if described as unusual, would be the understatement of the year. It all started 3 weeks ago when Bobby Ray Jones filed a lawsuit against the most unexpected defendant, COVID-19, claiming it ruined the American way of life and thus needs to be prosecuted. The plaintiff is, of course, the people of the United States of America, who Jones decided to represent in court. The case has been a problem for the judge from the very beginning. The fact that the defendant wasn't human was just the tip of the iceberg. Still, COVID-19 had been assigned an attorney and the whole thing was set in motion. Having taken the depositions in which the defendant's lawyer spoke on behalf of his invisible client, the judge determined the case should be tried. The quarantine measures made things a bit complicated, but considering the interest of the media, all the parties involved believed it was worth the effort. The first online trial in the history of Alabama was all set. First, the potential jurors answered the both attorneys' questions on Skype. It took less than a day to have the jury ready. There was a slight problem when the judge asked the defendant about its plea, and it, obviously, couldn't respond, but its legal counsel was allowed to do it instead, and he pleaded not guilty. The plaintiff's attorney presented a mile-long list of witnesses. It seemed everyone wanted to have their say in how the horrendous virus made their lives a living hell. The defendant's witness list was way shorter, with only a few ecologists' names who were ready to testify about the great things the virus had been doing for Mother Nature, and a few alleged scientists who kept hitting the headlines with conspiracy theories. It is still unknown whether the judge will issue any subpoenas and who else will receive a summons. It is hard to tell how long the trial will take. So far, only a quarter of witnesses have testified. Video conferencing has turned out to be quite a problem for some, and court reporters have been having a hard time preparing the transcripts. The judge keeps complaining about not being able to call the attorneys into his chambers when they overstep their boundaries. But all in all, it seems the majority is enjoying the show. The only person disappointed with the entire proceedings is Butch Tucker, the old bailiff who keeps ranting and raving how the whole world has gone crazy. Not only is the trial virtual, there is also no defendant he can take to his prison cell at the end of the day. What will the jury decide? Will the defendant be acquitted? If not, what will its punishment be? There are still a few days of testimonies left before we hear the famous words, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached the verdict?" Because, whatever the verdict is, it is bound to be a historic one.
Let's have a look at the answers. The plaintiff in this unusual trial is the people of the United States. The defendant is COVID-19. COVID-19 is charged with ruining the American way of life. The verdict is still unknown because the trial is ongoing. I hope the story piqued your interest enough to want to go through it once again. If you follow the link, you can open the story and go through it, and if you should now do this task, and that is to list all the legal proceedings you can find. Please pause the video and complete the task. Though the list of legal proceedings you got from the story is probably a longer one, we will focus for the purpose of this lesson on the key things that we need to know. In these legal proceedings, some of the legal proceedings mentioned are to testify, to file a lawsuit, to reach the verdict, to be acquitted or to be sentenced to prison, to plead guilty or innocent, and to receive a summons. How do they go in a trial? Pause the video and put them into the correct order. So, chronologically speaking, we always start with filing of the lawsuit. A plaintiff files a lawsuit against the defendant who is accused of having done something illegal. Then, the defendant has to make his plea. He can or she can plead guilty or innocent. The witnesses receive a summons. They come to the court and they testify. The members of the jury reach the verdict, and the defendant is either acquitted or sentenced, sometimes to prison, sometimes there is another kind of sentence. So, That was great. You are now familiar with words and phrases necessary to describe the legal proceedings at a trial. Before you move on, I suggest that you open this link and make sure you got all the legal terms right. This is just a quick vocabulary exercise for you to practice a little bit more. Okay, so do you remember the outcome of the lesson? Our aim is to describe a legal proceeding using an infographic. But let's see first, what is an infographic? An infographic or information graphic, according to Oxford English Dictionary, is actually a visual representation of information or data. It's actually a collection of imagery, charts, and minimal text, giving an easy-to-understand overview of a topic. An infographic, if created well, will be a great tool for you to complete the task or to achieve the outcome. There are many different infographic makers or digital tools available online, but I suggest that you use either PictoChart or Canva because they are very simple and they have a number of templates to help you get started. These links will get you to the main page where you can start creating an infographic. So, what is your task? Try to create an infographic which will help you describe what happens at a court of law. Include both who, the people involved, and what, the legal proceedings. Include visuals and keep the text to a minimum. And using the infographic as a reminder, describe what happens during a trial. Your talk should be between 2 and 4 minutes long. While doing that, and having done the task, you can use the checklist to help you see if you got it right. So make sure your infographic has both visual and textual elements. Make sure to include all the people taking part in a trial and to mention all the legal proceedings. As we said, your talk should be between 2 and 4 minutes, so make it around 3 minutes long. And try to present it without reading, using only the infographic. I'm pretty sure you will be great with the task. And in case you're interested in the topic and want to know more, I have a little research for you. Croatian word odvjetnik can be translated into English using 6 different words. Are you familiar with any of them? Why don't you look them up and see the difference? We have lawyers, solicitors, attorneys, barristers, counsels or counselors, and advocates. Check them up, look at them up in a dictionary and try to see how do they differ.